What's up, you guys? Happy Friday. I don't know why it carries me over to when I didn't work for myself, but for some reason I just love Fridays. It's like I love weekends, and for me it's like I'm such a go person. I love to have an excuse to kind of encourage and force myself to take a day or take some relaxation. Sometimes I'm the type of person that has to give myself permission to relax a little bit. But I was just saying happy Friday, guys. I love Fridays. I'm sorry that my hair is when I go to bed with my hair wet, it's always like a wild card when I wake up. Like, what is it going to look like? And this bugs me so much. I was going to straighten it, but I didn't have time. So it is what it is. You guys get my bedhead. But I hope you guys are having a good Friday. I'm just going to wait for everyone to join that's going to join. And I have my coffee right here. I usually put some type of sugar in my coffee and some types of fat. Today is some heavy cream and a little bit of maple syrup. Okay, I have a question from Sam. She says, hi, good morning. What are the dangers of eating unpasteurized dairy products? Why do people flip when you talk about it? You know, it's really a very relative thing. People, remember a lot of times when there's, mass hysteria about something, a lot of times it's like things are being blown out of proportion. I think if you actually look at the facts, there's I want to say 3 people that have died in the past 100 years from raw dairy, yet they say people get so sick and they die. The thing is when you are drinking, the reason why most milk has to be pasteurized is because conventional dairy products are not sanitary. They're, packing these cows one on top of the other, and there's feces getting into the milk. Conventional dairy is really not that healthy, and so it should be pasteurized because there is more potential for contamination. But raw dairy products have very strict standards, and so do a lot of organic dairy products. So there's a lot less of a risk for contamination. Just like driving in the car or flying in an airplane, there comes risk with everything, right? Like if I was gonna walk around and say oh, I can't touch that because there's bacteria on it, I might die. It's that's kind of how I see raw milk. Yes, cows can sometimes have really, really bad diseases and it can be passed into the milk. That's very infrequent, but you have to kind of do the research and kind of weigh, the risks for you and your family. For me, I'm not worried about it. I'm just there are scarier things, a lot more riskier things than drinking raw milk, in my opinion. But that's different for people who are immunosuppressed, on immunosuppressant drugs. There are certain things that we need to be careful of, or feeding them to a baby, probably not a great idea, or the elderly who have really, really sick, are really, really sick or frail. I'm not somebody that is, afraid of raw milk. I'm to me, it just has all the enzymes in it, and it really does. It's very gut supportive. Last time I checked, we feed our babies raw milk. Or do you pasteurize your boob milk before it comes out? You know what I mean? I'm just weird. But anyways, it's because of mass production that makes it more risky. If we're not treating these cows with the utmost care and respect and raising them properly, or packing them into a barn, there's just more risk for contamination. But higher quality milk is going to be a little bit more less risk of disease. Again, it's one of those things where you have to weigh the risks to yourself and decide what's best for you. There's nothing wrong with pasteurized milk if you're more comfortable drinking it. And some people actually do better with pasteurized, not homogenized, but pasteurized, because the bacteria is killed. And some people are not reacting to that bacteria very well in the raw milk. Alyssa, you look so cute, Jess. Sleepy eyes. Thanks, guys. I'm still I'm not waking up. It's been 2 hours, but I'm one of those people that takes 2 hours to really wake up. P.S. Love raw milk. Game changer for me. Yeah, raw milk tends to be a game changer for a lot of people because they don't really understand the power of raw milk that hasn't really been tampered with much is there's lactoferrin in it, which is super gut healing. Lactoferrin binds to iron in the gut and helps carry heavy metals, specifically iron, out of the body, or it helps you utilize iron better. It also really keeps bacteria at bay. So keep in mind, you guys, that milk is nature's there's prebiotic slash probiotic. It's how we actually proliferate a newborn baby's gut, because guts are born sterile. So it's the thing that nature gives babies who have sterile guts and leaky guts. Babies are born with leaky sterile guts. So, to me, that shows that milk has such power at healing the gut. Kayreen says, are you still feeling good taking iodine? Also, do you take it with zinc, vitamin C, selenium, or just make sure you get these supplements daily? Thanks. Yeah, I'm feeling great taking iodine. I was talking about my last Instagram live that I'd been experimenting with iodine, and it was so far I have been able to get away with not taking my desiccated thyroid medication, which I've taken for like 5 years. And cannot go a day without. Like, before, it would be like I was severely hypothyroid by like 2 p.m. I just couldn't focus. I was brain foggy. And so I started experimenting with iodine, and my plan was not to go off my thyroid medication. I was just really just like taking some iodine to see how I was. And my purpose for it was that I used to competitively swim in a chlorinated pool, and I was, raised, as most of us were, drinking chlorinated water. And so chlorine depletes the body of iodine. And I was kind of thinking, like, really, I swam in a chlorinated pool in high school, and then a couple years later, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. So I was like, I wonder if iodine has a lot to do with like me feeling so severely hypothyroid. And the past 7 days, I haven't taken my desiccated thyroid, and my temps have not changed, and the only change is iodine. Like, I can make it through the whole day and actually feel like amazing. Like, I was like at 8 p.m. last night, I was like, I feel great. Like, what is this? So I don't know if it's just like gonna fade, like it's not gonna be a forever thing, but I know that I'm having really good results. And then I don't take like zinc, vitamin C, selenium. I actually have those supplements, and I sometimes will periodically take them if I feel like, for example, I take my supplements on a very as needed basis. So if I kind of observe my day and I'm like, you know what, today I'm not really going to be able to get much of foods from these that include these nutrients, let's say zinc and selenium, I'm going to pop a zinc and selenium that day. Or if I'm like, you know what, I'm probably not going to have a lot of time to get my vitamin C in like I normally do, in the form of fruits and papaya and or pineapple or orange juice. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take some vitamin C this morning to just make sure I cover my bases. Doesn't hurt to end up eating those foods anyways, but for me, I use supplements really as a supplement, but I haven't been taking them that regularly. I more just make sure I'm getting nutrient dense foods. Hey Jess, thanks for all you do. Oh, thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate it. Is there a particular animal whose dairy products are more nutritious than others? You typically just eat cow dairy, correct? There are lots of different dairies. Camel dairy, never tried it, but people drink it. Goat's dairy, sheep's dairy. Sheep and goat actually are A2 dairies. So A2 dairies tend to be less histamine forming, and a lot of people do goat and sheep's dairy. Honestly, I wish I liked it. I'm utterly repulsed by goat's milk. Repulsed by it. It tastes so disgusting to me, but some people really enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, I actually think that goat's and sheep's milk is probably a better option. But I just don't like it, and it I can't find heavy cream from a goat, you know what I mean? It's a little bit more convenient to eat cow's dairy. I'm sure if I got really into it, my goal in the next year or two is to start making start slowly making my stuff. So for example, making my cottage cheese and making things from scratch instead of buying them. But until then, it's hard for me to do everything like sheep's or goat's milk, and the simple fact is I just don't like it. But goat's and sheep milk actually is a little bit better for you. I've been checking my temps and pulses. My temp does go up throughout the day to over 98, but my waking temp is never over 98. It's usually around 97.6, and now on my period it's as low as 96.8. Is that okay that it's starting low but still gets to over 98 during the day? So this is where you have room for improvement. This is why we take our temps and pulses. So keep in mind that during our period, that's really our true temperature. Throughout our cycles, things can kind of change, and so we want to take our period temperature as our true state of our metabolism. If we are waking up with something less than 97.8, we most likely have some type of stress or some type of thyroid, I don't want to say thyroid issue. It's more maybe thyroid's having a hard time getting into the cell, maybe we don't have the nutrients or fuel we need to completely fuel the cell, or maybe we have stress depressing our metabolism slightly. The goal is to always be over 97.8 and to see it gradually rise throughout the day from that point. Not, oh, it got to 98, great, we're good. No, you want to see it start at like 97.8 and above and gradually rise to well above 98 at that like 1 to 3 p.m. moment, 1 to 3 p.m. hour. That's going to show us that our body is utilizing our habits and our nutrition, right, our fuel, to increase our metabolism throughout the day, right? Because the peak of our thyroid function is going to happen in the afternoon, and we want that to happen, right? But if we're not doing habits or eating nutrition or treating our body in the way it needs to get to that point, then we know that our day is leading up to stress, or there's some type of stressors in the way, or we're not providing our body with what it needs, whether that's nutrition. That could be one factor. It could be minerals like salt, magnesium, calcium, selenium, zinc, that type of thing, which again kind of goes into nutrition. Or it could be not enough carbohydrates for our body, not enough protein, not enough of the right types of fats. And we can really start to use temps and pulses to see how our habits affect our temps and pulse. Other things that can affect it are like sunlight, for example. Like if we're not getting sunlight, a lot of women cannot get their temps up until they get natural sunlight every single day. Or exercise. Some women are exercising way too hard. Like I have clients that, like, for example, they've come to me and they were doing Soul Cycle 5 days a week, and they had temperatures like in the 96s, and then we got them doing like 3 or 4 days of strength training and maybe like one Soul Cycle session a week. If I can get them to do none, I'm like, can we do none? But some people enjoy it, and we don't want to take away the mental benefit of exercise, and sure enough, their temps go up. Or it could be the opposite. People are not exercising when they come to me, and we get them exercising, and oh, look at that, it's really positively affecting the metabolism. So there are a lot of things that can affect that, and we want to have the baseline information. It's an observation that we can make, like, oh, this didn't really affect our body that greatly, or oh, this really affects me positively. But yeah, you really want to wake up above, around like 97.8 or so. Hey Jess, how do we distinguish between dandruff and a dry scalp? I'm wondering if I have the latter. It really, like, they can sometimes seem similar, and sometimes they can be the same thing. A lot of times dandruff is caused by fungal issues, but not always. It can sometimes be caused by an inability to hydrate the scalp skin properly. Keep in mind that the scalp and the hair follicles are like almost like mini organs, and they're very different than like all of our other skin. A lot of times our scalp skin is going to be the thing that like almost expresses our skin issues the most. So let's say we have like really dry skin, but we can like fix it with some shea butter or some really natural lotion, but our scalp is going to really tell us what's up. And so if we have a dry scalp, it's not going to be like, it might do like little flakes, but it's not going to be like dandruff where it's like flaky. But sometimes you can tell like dry scalp if it's kind of like there's a little bit of peeling skin. But dandruff is like dandruff. It's going to fall. So it's sometimes hard to distinguish, and sometimes the only thing that's going to help you distinguish it is actually going to a dermatologist or somebody that can kind of like look at it and tell you. But yeah, it's hard to know if your scalp is not healthy or if it itches a lot. Usually that's going to be more on the dandruff or like the dermatitis route. But if it just kind of is dry and kind of like feels like dry skin a little bit, then maybe it's more dry. It's hard to know, like it really is. But scalp issues are very much like, they do have a lot to do with metabolism. They can have a lot to do with like mineral imbalances. They can have a ton to do with hormones. They can have a lot to do with the gut as well. When I feel like my hormones are working better, I do not get an oily scalp. But when I am like really stressed out, or I am not like, taking the steps necessary to take care of my health, my scalp gets so oily. Like, you guys, I can't go like more than 2 days without washing my hair. And so when that's happening, I'm knowing that I'm not saying like, oh gosh, like I need to wash my hair more or wash my hair less. I know this is all internal. There's something going on with overproduction of sebum. And it's kind of the same with dry scalp or scalp issues. Corey asked, what are your general thoughts on alcohol? The less, the better. I'm not a drinker. I've like talked about this before. Like, I could literally never drink alcohol again and be like, all good. But I know people enjoy it. I do think a lot of women, when they say like, oh no, it's just something I enjoy, we really like kind of dig deeper and they're actually relying upon it to relax, or relying on it to help them sleep. And in those regards, like, there's something wrong, right? If we need to like drink a glass of wine to relax or to wind down from our day, then our day is not serving us, right? Like, there's something wrong with our day if we're having to drink to wind down from it. I find that, you know, we have to remember that alcohol is just very estrogenic. So when we're trying to, you know, increase our progesterone levels, lower our estrogen, we don't really want to be drinking something that's just perceived as estrogenic. And also keep in mind that alcohol is a toxin. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it's any less toxic than something that is an illegal substance. It's just a legal substance. And so it's poison. Your body sees it as poison. The minute it comes in, your body prioritizes getting it out of the body first before all those other hormones, anything coming from the gut, any type of toxins that your body was previously trying to detoxify, or anything regarding like hormones your body was trying to detoxify, back burner. Alcohol comes first. And depending on your level of B vitamins, the nutrients you have, it will determine how well your liver functions. And a lot of women who have hormonal issues, their liver's not functioning that great. They're nutrient depleted, and alcohol depletes nutrients like no one's business because it takes so much work to detoxify alcohol from the system. So for me, I always say, like, if you truly want to heal, you have issues, don't drink at all. The less you drink, the better it is for you. But if you're like, I really like want to, you know, have like 2 drinks a week or whatever, for whatever reason, then I would limit it to like 2 or 3 moderate sized drinks, like a 4-ounce glass of wine a week. But yeah, I don't think it serves people in any way. And honestly, like, most people that just like cut it out are like, I was relying on it or leaning on it way too much. And I will occasionally like socially drink, like, you know, if I'm, you know, at a winery, like I live by the wineries, and people, you know, sometimes want to go hang out, and I'm not going to be like, I'm just having water, you know, like I will have a glass of wine and I will enjoy it. But it's only if I feel like it. Like, I never feel the pressure to like socially drink. Like, I'm the type of person that I'm just like, it's not worth it. Like, I would much rather have a piece of chocolate cake, you know, like I just don't, I just know what it does to my liver. Plus it just wrecks my gut. Like, I don't know. I don't think that alcohol really serves women very much. And I can't really think of a time of your cycle where it's like a good time to drink. Like, I'm like, yeah, you don't want to drink during your period. You don't want to drink leading up to ovulation because you don't want to like cause any stress there. And then, we don't want to drink during the luteal phase because our liver's trying to detoxify estrogen. So I'm just like, I don't see like a great time to drink unless we're really, really healthy and we are like optimal, like we're not struggling with any issues, we're just in maintenance mode. Who are some other people you consistently follow on IG, podcasts you listen to, etc., for wellness content, inspiration, and new material? You know, you guys, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was gonna like poll you guys, like, who do you guys like to follow? I do not really consume a lot of Instagram content right now. I don't know why. I just like, most of it is just such bullshit. Like, I don't even like, nothing really draws me. Like, I'm just like, yeah, pass, heard it before. I just feel like everyone's just regurgitating each other right now. And it's just like really, it's like kind of depressing in my opinion a little bit. Like, it's hard for me to find like new voices or people that like, there's so many people right now that are just like real fake, you know, like they like, I'm so raw and real, and like they're like, you know, they're like raw and real in their own sense of the word, and I'm like, you're not raw and real, you know. Or they're trying to like push products and shove them down your throat, and I sometimes I just like, I gotta take a step back. So I do not like really consume anybody's Instagram content. I was actually like, this weekend, one of my things that I'm gonna do is go through everyone that I follow and unfollow anyone that like I can't I don't want to follow anymore. And I was like gonna ask you guys for, who do you guys like to consistently follow? There's really no one on Instagram that I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to follow them. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. It's just I have not found them yet. Right now, like, I just am not loving Instagram because it's just like depressing to me a little bit. When it comes to podcasts I listen to, and very like one track mind focus, so much misinformation out there right now. It's so crazy. Like, I barely listen to any podcasts anymore regarding health. I like literally, I can't think of one that like big podcasts or anything like that. I like, you know, my girls in my industry, like Hormones in Harmony by Viva Natural Health. That's a really good one. She's really, like, Vivian is a colleague that I greatly respect. I'm trying to think, but I mostly listen to Danny Roddy. So Danny Roddy interviews like Ray Pete or Ray Pete followers very often, and I really respect Ray Pete. I listen to East West Healing Co. Like, they don't do a lot now, but it's East West Healing. Yeah, East West Healing, and on Instagram they're like Real Food Gangstas. I listen to their like old stuff when I have a chance, but I don't really have a lot of time to listen to podcasts. Like, I'm not someone who's like, oh, I have like a free like 5 hours, like I'm gonna listen to a podcast right now. I really don't have time. So right now, like, for inspiration, comes from within. That's like, it's like weird to say, but right now it's just like what people need, and I really can't, it's what I can't find anywhere else. So when people ask me a question and I'm like trying to point them somewhere, and then I'm like, wait, there's nowhere to point them to. They don't have, like, the only thing I have to point them to is like a research study or something that says like, in mice, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, I don't expect them to like take that and like break it down. But I follow different people for different reasons. So like, there are people that I follow for fitness inspiration. I don't listen to a word they say about nutrition. I don't really care for them as a person. I just follow them for their fitness advice. Or there are people that I follow like to kind of get some meal ideas. I take it or leave it. Some of their stuff I'm like, nah, too much PUFA, whatever, but I get some meal inspiration. So really, like, I am like a very picky, choosy person, but I'm actually not a big consumer of content right now as it is. And that's just kind of the season of life that I'm in as well. Like, I just don't really have a lot of time, and I'm like one track focus right now. So, but I am looking for people to follow more. I also like Matt Blackburn. Some people, he's not for everybody, but I really like his, he talks about PUFAs and iron and just a lot. And he's, you know, he's a little bit more extreme, but sometimes we need that. And I like him for his information. Lydia says, hi, can progesterone supplement make you tired and constipated? I know I have to go through estrogen detox, but I have a few slightly negative symptoms. Well, then don't do it. If something is not affecting you well, stop it. You know, like, especially if you're not taking it with the guidance of your doctor and you can't call them and say, hey, this is causing this. Like, make sure that you are not doing anything negative to yourself. You don't want to push something that is very uncomfortable and your body's telling you no. What's on your nails? Polish or something else? Love it. Yeah, it's just like gel polish. I just like got them done at a nail salon. I do like S&S dip, and then I sometimes will switch to gel for whatever reason. A lot of times it's just because I'm annoyed with the S&S dip. For like the people at the nail salon are like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, okay, fine, just do gel. But it peels on my nails. I don't know why. Gel doesn't really stick very well. Do you recommend organic rice cakes on Fully Nourished? I need fast lunch ideas. Would half an avocado a day be okay, Jess? If you guys are having a problem with losing weight, or you have gut inflammation, or you have really low thyroid function, half an avocado a day is going to hold you back. Avocados are very rich in monounsaturated fats, and they're not like the health food that everyone proclaims that they are. A little bit of avocado here and there is not a problem. If you're craving avocados like no one's business, are you getting enough saturated fat in your life? I personally used to eat like a half an avocado or a whole avocado a day, and that was a big mistake. I look back and I'm just like, God, Jessica, why? Avocados are not harmless. And then, do you recommend organic rice cakes on Fully Nourished? I need fast lunch ideas. I do. I say that you can have some rice cakes, and I give you guys a good brand. It's just kind of like, we don't want to be too reliant upon grains. It's not a good idea to make it a habit to consume grains all of the time, every single day. We need to make sure we're getting whole, real foods. And so rice cakes are okay, like here and there, especially in a quick fix, but make sure you make it a habit to do whole, real foods. Like, and for example, you guys can always meal prep, like bake or roast 4 or 5 sweet potatoes and eat them every single day for lunch. Stuff them with meat or cheese or vegetables or whatever you want to put in there, and have things ready in advance. So tonight, me and my best girlfriends are getting together. They like to drink. I probably will have a glass of red, but what should I eat with them? What can I bring over? Haha, I don't want to mess this up. It's not really about messing it up. It's like, for me, when I go over to someone's house and they have like a bunch of junk food out, like I'm like, oh, like I don't want to eat that. Like it's not going to make me feel good for the next 5 days. So I just kind of bring something to share. I always will like say like, hey, I'm going to bring, whatever, some brownies, or I'm going to bring, I usually bring like some type of dessert because that's satisfying to me and it's good. And if I know yourself, like for me, I know that I like a dessert, but maybe you like to snack and you're going to reach for the Doritos. You guys know yourself, and I talk about this in Fully Nourished, that whole module, setting yourself up for success. Listen to those lessons, you guys. Those are really important lessons because they teach you how to prepare and have self-awareness and know in advance how you're going to set yourself up for success long term. Because if you don't do that, you don't know yourself, and you don't say like, I know that I'm going to reach for the brownie, and prepare yourself some brownies, you're going to be reaching for the brownies for the next 20 years. You're never going to be able to stop it. And it's going to become this like diet mentality, like, oh, I'm not going to eat those for 30 days, and then you go back to eating them. So just bake yourself some brownies and bring them to share. Everyone's going to enjoy them. You don't even have to say like, oh, these are healthy and gluten-free. Like, people like to do that, and like, why make it your friends' issues? Just bring brownies. They don't know that they're gluten-free. They don't know that they're good for you. They just know that they're brownies. And, have a glass of red, enjoy it, sip it slowly. So don't make it like a thing, like we make these things, and it's just like, no, you're just eating, but you choose to eat whole, real foods. You should follow Ambigal. Haha, amazing content. Okay. I also did ovulation tests this month, and they were all negative. Is this mainly a stress issue, would you think? It's hard to know, you guys. These questions are very much speculation for me because I have no idea if you're heavy metal toxic, if you have gut issues, if you have stress in your life, if you're being exposed to too many EMFs, if you're like, I have no idea. Are you sleeping? What does your Dutch test say? What does your GI map say? Like, those are things that I need to know before I help people figure out why they're not ovulating. This is why it's really not, like, if you're just kind of experimenting and just trying different things, you really don't know what's going on with you, right? Like, we don't really know what's going on with our hormones. We don't really know what's going on with our health. We are assuming that it's something, but there's really no way of knowing without seeing it visibly. Are there any probiotics you recommend? You got to be very careful with probiotics, you guys. This goes for everyone. So many people take the same probiotic for 6 months at a time and create worse gut issues than they ever had before. You take probiotics for a very specific purpose, for a very specific period of time, and then you stop them. And if you don't do that, you're going to really run into issues. I personally will use different strains. I have some different ones that I use for different purposes. Like Megaspore Biotic is probably one of my favorites. Just Thrive Probiotic is another spore base that I like. And then I like to use bacteriophages like GI Assist or not GI Assist, it's called Flora Assist by Life Extension. There are some more phage technology that I like to use. So I use very specific probiotics. I do not just say oh, take a probiotic. No, a lot of times they do more harm than good. So you got to really be very careful with the strain, but a spore base is going to probably be the best bet. But I just think doing probiotic foods is a lot better. Hi Jessica, could vitamin E cause the Dutch test to not show real results since it blocks estrogen in the liver? Does SIBO ferment resistant starch, or could I eat that? Thank you. I'm not a big fan of resistant starch. I mean, I don't know what you mean by resistant starch, but I wouldn't do like modified potato starch or anything like that. Usually that will bloat the heck out of you. Starches really do bother gut issues much more than fruit fibers, and lots of like fermentable fibers like green vegetables will also really bug SIBO. And then no, I wouldn't worry about taking vitamin E for the Dutch test. It would be fine. What do you like to do for fun besides working out? I'm having a hard time fitting in fun, mostly because I'm so focused on OCD, so I'm all about FN right now. Yeah, I do different things for fun. I'm like a very like easy to please type of person. I'm the type of person that I find like living my best life fun. So I like to wake up early. I like to go to the gym and like get a good workout in and feel really, really good. I like to make sure like I check in with my clients and make sure like answer all my emails by 9 a.m. Like, I'm the type of person that just really likes to work, and I am in a hustle mode. I'm building a company, I'm building a business, and this is just a period in my life where I'm not really focused on like too much fun, as like weird as that might say. Like, I'm just not that type of person. Like, for me, this is very satisfying and fulfilling. During my free time, I try to spend time with my family. I spend time with my boyfriend. You know, we'll go out to eat, we'll watch movies, like we go to the movies. Like, right now I'm kind of in a very laser focused mode. I do read for fun. Like, I will read different types of books. I listen to podcasts that are not like health and wellness related a lot. So like, I really like mythology. I like true crime. Like, that's really what I like to listen to. I really like, doing like art, so I do like a lot of I have like a sketchbook, and I have like a lot of different coloring books, so I really enjoy doing that. But I don't really have a ton of time for fun right now. As like depressing as that sounds, it's just not something that is my priority. I still make time for like things that I enjoy, and I make time for like my hobbies. I always make sure I like go out for walks, and but I don't really have a lot of time. It's kind of a sacrifice that I've made while I'm building my company. Right now that's not like my priority. And as many people as say like life's just about being happy, no, there's more important things in life than just like being happy. Like, yeah, I'm happy and super satisfied with my life, but I have like goals to reach, and I have people to help. And so for me, it's not just all about like my own happiness. Like, I really do believe that like my life is meant for more, and my life is meant for helping other people get to where they need to go. Where do you get affordable grass-fed beef sticks? I scout sales like no one's business. I'm like a scale sander, like, ee! Like, I am looking whenever I go to the grocery store, like if whatever beef sticks are on sale, those are the ones I buy, and I buy like 10 of them at once. So, sorry, I was like listening to my dogs bark. I always make sure that I'm buying them sale, and I just buy them in bulk. And it really depends. Like, sometimes I have like different like local health food stores. So sometimes I get them at Sprouts. Sometimes I get them at my other store, which is like kind of our Whole Foods, which is Organic Roots. Sometimes I get them from Trader Joe's. It just depends on where I can find the best price. And I know prices, you guys. Like, the best thing that you could do is get to know your grocery stores in your area, get to know your farmer's market, get to know your prices, and know what prices things are. And if you can't remember, then have a spreadsheet or have some type of note that you can access on your phone, so you can go look and say, Sprouts are I bought them last month for this price. Wow, this is a lot better, and buy them then. You know, like, get organized. Organization is really the only thing that's going to really help you have success when you're trying to do this long term. It's not really about like, okay, here and now, like I'm doing these. It's like, if you're going to do this for long term, like, you got to make this a habit. You got to make a system. And I'm very much like, I know I'm very OCD, like I'm very system oriented, very habit oriented, routine oriented. Like, I am not going to stray from that, and that makes me happy and satisfied. And I know for some people it's like, girl, like, hold up, like, you are crazy. But for me, it just helps me not have to think about things. I can just go to my phone and say, grass-fed beef sticks were $179 last week, and they're $129 right now. I'm gonna stock up. I'm not really one to get headaches much, but I've had a horrible headache for going on the 3rd day now. Our weather has been very humid, rainy, stormy the past few days. Any ideas to help? Yeah, so headaches have a lot to do with, I mean, it can have, usually has a lot to do with estrogen detoxification or blood sugar imbalances, but it can have to do with like very like rainy, stormy days, like maybe you just haven't gotten like fresh air or enough sunlight. I really like to take a detox bath, so I do like 8 cups of Epsom salts, 2 cups of Dead Sea salts, and I like, it's called something mustard bath. I can't remember the name, and you can like type in like mustard bath on Amazon, and it's like this blue and yellow can of this mustard mixture that makes you sweat like no one's business. You run a hot bath, you sweat it all out. That's usually what ends up working for me. Another thing that you can do is put your feet in some warm water. I just sit on my sink and like fill my sink bowl with water, put my feet in hot water, and then add some like a bag of cold peas or cold something, like a cold pack on the back of my neck, which really helps. And then like a lymphatic drainage massage a lot of times works. So sometimes our neck is really kinked and it's causing lymph fluid to kind of sit, which is usually pretty toxic and needs to drain. So making sure you're doing like a lymphatic drainage massage. And then like peppermint oil tends to be helpful sometimes. For me, my biggest thing is activated charcoal. Take a big dose of activated charcoal and like pray to God that that's the problem. It's coming from my gut. I've grown up in a culture of social alcohol consumption. I'm sure it's probably the worst thing ever for me, but I haven't ever heard your perspective on it. Yeah, I am not like a social, like for me, I don't really feel the social pressure. And like if you do, the biggest thing that I recommend my clients to do is do a 1-for-1 rule. So if they feel really pressured to drink alcohol socially, they should drink a glass of whatever, wine, and then they need to drink a whole tumbler full of club soda. And so what you asked the bartender for is a soda with lime. And it looks like a vodka soda. No one knows you don't have alcohol. You're the only one that knows. And a lot of people say it like out of insecurity. They're like, oh, I'm not drinking, like I'm only drinking water. And it's like, don't tell anyone, because then they're like, oh, you're a party pooper. People have this weird idea that like they need to, like they feel weird if you're not drinking. They feel less than. And it's like, that's their own problem, not my problem. If I don't want to drink, I'm not going to drink. And I need to treat my body how I need to treat my body. So overall, like finding some tricks to kind of get around it. But if I always say the 1-for-1 rule really does work, because you're really milking that club soda and everyone thinks it's a vodka soda and no one has to know the difference. When I mean resistant starch, I mean like cooled potato and sweet potato. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like worry about like adding resistant starch in. I know a lot of people are like really into it, but I'm not. And how after I started with vitamin E for ED, my legs is getting less hairs and it looks not like a forest. I'm shocked. Yeah, estrogen really does drive a lot of hirsutism issues and like hair overgrowth. A lot of people think they're androgen related, but I really think there's a lot of estrogen involved. Is there anything you suggest to do a liver cleanse or help to get it to function at its fullest? Make sure you're nourishing yourself. Are you eating nutrient dense protein, carb, and fat from the right sources every 2 to 3 hours? Making sure you're getting enough calories throughout the day, B vitamins, grass-fed beef liver, zinc from oysters. You know, making sure you get getting the nutrients that you need first. No amount of liver cleansing or herbs is ever going to fix a undernourished liver. And then once the liver is nourished, then you can go a little further. Add the raw carrot salad in. Maybe look into castor oil packs or coffee enemas. Sometimes milk thistle can be helpful in some cases, but you have to know if phase 1 or phase 2 detoxification is sluggish, because you need different detox support based on which phase of your cycle is sluggish. How many hours of sleep do you get? I'm struggling to figure out my balance on what is ideal. Yeah, I mean, I think the ideal would be like 8 hours. Everyone's a little different in what they need. I know that I need at least 7 hours, 8 hours optimally to function. So if I know that, I really have to plan my day around it. I'm the type of person that like puts everything in the schedule, even like my sleeping hours, because it just I don't have to think about it. Like I know my bedtime's 10 p.m. and I'm going to start winding down for bed at 9 o'clock. And that hour is going to be like me getting ready for bed, and I'm lights out at 10, you know, like every day. And then I'm going to sleep until 6 a.m. is when I set my alarm. And then I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. So I know that I've blocked out 8 hours of sleep for myself. And I know that that's what I need to function optimally. But everyone has a different schedule. Some people can get less, but you kind of know what you need. Like if you're feeling really exhausted throughout the day, or you have a 2 p.m. slump, there's some issues, you know, you probably need more sleep. Is putting cayenne pepper in water actually effective at speeding up metabolism, or is that just a bullshit fad? Cayenne can be irritating. It's a thermogenic, like it can cause thermogenesis and be thermogenic, but a lot of times it's like increasing stress on the body, so you have to take your temps and pulses after you implement cayenne. But some people do really well with cayenne. I just personally, like, it's very irritating to the gut. It is a nightshade and it's pretty spicy, so it is kind of bothersome and irritating to the gut, and I don't know if I would like drink it every single day. Like I don't think that would do the gut much good. OMG, your sales scanner sound. I wish I could replay that. Oh, you guys are funny. Do you know if there is a scale at home that is good and can measure fats, bones, water, and muscles? I really want to follow progress and muscle mass. Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm like literally spacing on the name of the scale that I recommend. It's called like, oh my gosh. Okay, I'll post it on my stories when I think of it. It's you type it in on Amazon and you say smart scale. It's smart scale. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. But pretty much you're looking for a scale that measures those things and has good reviews. You want water weight, you want body fat percentage, and you want like overall weight. That's really it. I just watched your troubleshooting weight loss video. I understand fruit over grains are helpful, but will more than one serving or slow carbs like sweet potatoes slow my weight loss? That's why I like brought it to your attention. Is it's one of those things where if for whatever reason you're having like 1 or 2 servings of slower carbs per day and you're not losing weight, then at that point it would probably be a good idea to maybe try less and see how your body does. A lot of women can do good with 1 or 2 servings of starch per day, as long as it's from roots. If it's a lot of grain starches, then a lot of times grains are going to be pretty weight promoting in high amounts. So I just brought it to the attention that if you're not seeing progress after 6 to 8 weeks with adding, you might need to cut out grains for a little while and just do starches from roots. Should I be eating eggs every morning? I'm used to eating with bacon almost all the time. I don't, like, I eat eggs most mornings just because it's an easy breakfast for me and I don't have to think about it. But it's just kind of if you like them and if you want them. If you're used to eating them with bacon, bacon is pretty high in polyunsaturated fats, especially if it's like low quality bacon, just because pigs are a lot of times eating soy and corn and that's going right into their fat. But as long as it's like the fat's been kind of trimmed off of it and you've like really taken a paper towel and like soaked the fat out, that should be okay. Just make sure you guys don't eat eggs and bacon alone. There must be some type of carbohydrate or it's going to just drop your blood sugar and then your cortisol is going to have to raise to increase blood sugar. Do you know of any reason CBD oil could be a bad idea for hormone and metabolic health? Yeah, I can think of a lot of reasons. It's not for everyone. It's one of those things where I think it's worth trying, but it's not like the panacea cure-all like everyone is saying. Ever since FN, I've noticed my NDT is way too high of a dose for me. Would a new lifestyle do this? I'm also having a hard time staying asleep. Yeah, you need to get your thyroid checked and make sure that your doctor titrates down your dose because you don't want to be going into a hyperthyroid state. The other day you mentioned ferritin causing acne and my mind was blown. My ferritin level is 65, which is in the normal range, but I still suspect this is the cause for my PCOS symptoms. Yeah, ferritin is not a good measure because keep in mind your body keeps your blood levels of everything pretty balanced. Once they're imbalanced, there's some issues going on. Your tissue and cell levels are a completely different story. And ferritin has nothing really to do with the amount of iron that's stored in your tissues. You would need like a hair tissue mineral analysis or something like that to really test your iron levels. But yeah, iron has a lot to do with acne because we grow up on fortified iron or fortified wheat products, and the iron that they put in fortified wheat products is not like oh, hey, here's this like bioavailable iron. They take literal iron shavings and put it into our food. And your body doesn't absorb iron shavings. Pieces of metal are not absorbed by your body. They're very irritating to the body, and your body quickly puts them into the tissues. Guess what also stores iron in the tissues? Estrogen. And estrogen keeps iron tissue bound. So when you start detoxifying estrogen, or people that struggle with acne all the time are actually trying, like their body's trying to detoxify estrogen all the time, and there is iron mobilizing slowly. Iron feeds pathogens, we know that. This is why babies drink milk, because nature knows that lactoferrin in milk binds to iron and keeps bad pathogens at bay in a baby's gut. Babies are very susceptible to bad bacteria and bad pathogens, and so milk is very protective against iron for that reason. And a lot of people have iron issues. Let's just put it that way. If we've grown, most of us grew up on, shredded wheat and fortified cereals and things like that. And so, yeah, a lot of us have iron issues, especially when we're struggling with acne. But ferritin isn't really a good measure of it, because your body keeps blood iron and ferritin levels pretty stable. And if you have imbalanced iron in your blood, a lot of times it has to do with B vitamins and very little to do with iron. And keep in mind that bioavailability is very different than like what you're actually using. Like you can have a lot of tissue iron and still be low in iron technically, because it's not bioavailable. Your body's not using it. When is the best time to take pancreatic enzymes, and how long should I take HCl? Thanks. That is a question for your doctor, or do your own research. I'm not sure your situation, so I couldn't say how long you should take HCl. And when it comes to pancreatic enzymes, usually like 5 minutes before a meal is fine. My closest grocery store only carries smoked mussels. Are they okay substitute for oysters, or are oysters better? That seems like fine. Any type of, I guess like a mollusk, I think it would be. A mollusk is going to be kind of similar in trace minerals. Also, what can we do to best support you? You're making such an amazing difference in all our lives, and we're so appreciative. Oh, you guys, I appreciate you. Really like engaging with me is always the best. Like even if you just see a story that you like and you just like, send a quick response like a heart, or when you see a post, like just like it and like add a quick comment, like not even anything crazy. It really does change the way that Instagram shows me to other people. I'm just trying to get in front of people right now, and I've been a little bit burnt out since Fully Nourished. Honestly, I've just been letting myself recover, but I have plans moving forward, and so there's going to be other programs that come out. I'm going to have more specific protocols, like gut protocols and things that come out in the future. And I never ever expect someone to buy something unless it is right for them. But consuming my content and just interacting with my content is so helpful to me, you guys. You have no idea. Sharing it with your friends, like tagging people, or sometimes people, like if you guys want to see me on a podcast and they have like a submission form on that podcast. A lot of podcasts allow you to submit like requests for people to show up on your podcast. And so if you guys like want to see me on someone's podcast, go to their website and just submit like nominate me for their podcast, or whatever you guys. I don't want to take too much time out of your day, but if you guys want to see me out there, like my biggest goal right now is just to get in front of people's eyeballs, because people need the information I'm sharing. It's just like so many people find me and they're like, where have you been? And it's just like the biggest problem for me, or the biggest barrier right now, is just getting in front of people and having people become aware of me. And that's what I appreciate, just engaging and sharing, really. What if AMH levels are low for our age? Any thoughts or recommendations for this? I'd have to look at AMH in relation to everything else and know what's going on. It's very hard, like when it's one specific hormone, it's like it could be a high or low for any reason under the sun, and it has a lot to do with other things involved. A friend that has had hashies for a few years now has elevated antibodies for both hashies and Graves. Wondering what this could mean. Her doc is clueless. Also says she can eat whatever she wants. Ha! Ha! Okay, so it's not funny that she's struggling with this, but it's just funny when doctors say, like, you can eat whatever you want. I'm just like, okay. But Graves and Hashimoto's, this is why I love science, because there's two schools of thoughts in medicine. There's the thought that Graves and Hashis are autoimmune disease, meaning that your body is stupid enough to attack itself. I don't really think that. Or there's another school of thought, which is a lot not like mainstream, that Hashimoto's or Graves or really any autoimmune disease of the thyroid has everything to do with inflammation. There are inflammatory compounds embedded within the thyroid, like pesticides, dioxins, estrogens, and bad fats like polyunsaturated fats that the body is creating an inflammatory or an immune response against. That seems more likely to me. Sorry. So it's like when it comes to people with Hashis, Graves, don't care what type of thyroid issue it is, gotta get inflammation in the gut and liver down, and gotta get toxins out of the body. A lot of times, thyroid issues like that have a lot to do with heavy metals, a ton to do with heavy metals. And so in her case, I would really recommend an HTMA mineral analysis, some type of mineral analysis that's going to see what her levels of minerals are. How to decrease overeating. Well, who says you're overeating? Because if you're overeating in one sitting, did you restrict all day? If you're eating a huge meal at night, you probably didn't eat enough during the day, and now your body's overriding your brain. I would recommend you check out my highlight story on binging or overeating, and I talk about the physical things that are going on. Hi Jess, how do you suggest a meal to reduce estrogen levels, possible gynecomastia? I'm not really sure. Is that a tumor, I believe? I believe that's a tumor, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry, guys, I don't know everything. But it really has to do with what is he eating? What is he being exposed to estrogenic rise? Is he like getting a lot of plastics? Does he do a lot of is he getting exposed to a lot of toxins? What does he do for his job? What is he drinking water from? What is he eating, like lots of polyunsaturated fats, lots of anti-thyroid foods like grains and lentils and nuts and seeds and lots of raw greens, or lots of processed foods, like so many questions. But really it would be like starting just with everything that I talk about here. It does apply to a man. It's just not, they don't have the same cycles that we do, but their hormones are still just as sensitive, maybe a little less because they don't technically make a lot of endogenous estrogen, but they still can have estrogen issues. I just had an A1C test done and waiting for results. I'm not sure what's high, but if my levels are high, what's the best way to lower A1C? Don't eat polyunsaturated fats, balance your blood sugar, lower your stress levels, and lower inflammation coming from the gut and the liver. Okay, but here in Serbia, there is no doctor who even knows what's HCl. Just wanted to know how long is safe to use enzymes and HCl. Usually as long as you need them. It's always a good idea, you guys, to take breaks from supplements. You never want to be relying upon a supplement day in, day out, day in, day out. It's always a good idea to give yourself I give myself usually a 2-week to a month break every so often, every 3 months. When would you recommend using progesterone oil during the cycle? I don't recommend anything, guys, because I'm not a doctor, but usually days 14 to 28 is the common way to supplement bioidentical progesterone. But it kind of depends on if you're premenopausal or postmenopausal. Premenopausal women make progesterone when they ovulate, and so it's a good idea to mimic that cycle, starting around day 14 and then supplementing up until you start your period. Do you ever see inflamed and red hives on the face due to toxins? Has a lot to do with liver, has a lot to do with histamine issues, meaning that your gut bacteria is kind of not clearing histamine properly, and so there's a lot of inflammatory reactions. But yeah, it has a lot to do with toxins, has a lot to do with liver issues, the liver not having enough nutrients to detoxify, or the body's just overburdened, overinflamed. But yeah, definitely seen hives a lot. Hives are very common when it comes to hormone, gut issues, being constipated, that type of thing. And a lot of times you can find it's hard for me to on my lives I try to do the best I can and kind of speculate what's going on, but really a lot of times I'm very surprised when I start to comb through someone's health history and we look at labs and we look at things and I find that it's something completely different than what I would have assumed. So it can be a lot of different things. Like hives can be driven by a lot of different things, but I usually say that like it has to do with, your liver and your thyroid are responsible for like immunity and clearing out toxins. So it could have to do with like a rash. Is she giving you some type of binder, like activated charcoal? Like I like Quicksilver Scientific's binder. You can buy it on Amazon. It's a little pricey, but it goes a long way. And it has like activated charcoal, some different binders that bind to toxins. I also like Pectosol C. Pectosol C is a modified citrus pectin, and it really helps bind to heavy metals and toxins in the gut. Because if you're on any type of detox protocol, I don't know what your naturopath is doing with you, but if she's saying your liver and your thyroid is an issue, is she putting you on like detoxification herbs or something? A lot of people make the mistake of detoxifying without having anything to bind to the junk that's coming out of the body. Or they're constipated and they're trying to detoxify, and I'm like, you can push all the junk out of your liver, but it's just gonna sit in your colon if you're not pooping regularly. So that's why I like coffee enemas personally, because it's a great way to get the liver moving and clear out the colon as well. What could be causing constant itchiness on my legs? It could be histamine. It could be inflammation. A lot of my, I have a few clients who have autoimmune diseases, particularly lupus. And when I got diagnosed with lupus, I also had like horrible itchiness on my legs. And I realized it had a lot to do with my gut. Like it had a lot to do with just inflammation in general. The only thing that was able to get it down at first was aspirin, just because it was like very anti-inflammatory. But then over time, as my gut healed, it would help over time. What to do if we react to histamine? I'm always feeling so sick after eating high histamine food. Well, keep in mind that histamine issues have a lot to do with the fact that your gut bacteria is no longer clearing histamine, or you have too many gut bacteria that actually create histamine. So there are bacteria that create histamine that when they get imbalanced, or there's too many of those bacteria, there's overproduction of histamine. And then you don't have enough of the good bacteria that clears histamine. And so you have this like horrible reaction where it's not really having much to do with the fact that you're eating histamines, because all of our food has some amount of histamine. It's more that we are creating more than we can clear, if that makes sense. I watched your SIBO story. How do you increase transit time? You eat more frequently. You eat every 2 to 3 hours. You get enough protein, carb, and fat. A lot of times SIBO just keeps coming back because it really is not a gut issue. You know, everyone's saying like, oh, the root cause is SIBO. The root cause is SIBO. And I'm like, no, the root cause of SIBO is like self-imposed bacterial overgrowth, because it is from us slowing our metabolism down over time, slowing our transit time over time. Like, we're so stressed, blood is rushing away from the gut, and we're not feeding ourselves frequently. If we want our bowels to move, we need to put food in the tract to move them, you know? And so we go so long on these yo-yo diets or restrictive diets, low carb diets, all these diets, and then we expect our gut to be working optimally. Like, what the heck? And then the biggest thing I see is like people go on these like more restrictive diets for their SIBO. And it's so funny to me because I'm like, it's literally making everything worse. Like, yeah, you might feel a symptom reduction, but the minute you go like off your antibiotics or off your antibacterials or off anything, you're gonna just go right back to the problem that you had before. It is helpful sometimes to find out what type of SIBO you have. So SIBO hydrogen or SIBO methane. Usually you can tell by your symptoms. So if you're IBS-C or you have constipation, a lot of times that's methane. If you have diarrhea, a lot of times that's hydrogen based SIBO, because the treatment is different. So I know you asked about antibiotics, like the rifaximin, I think that's what it's called, rifaximin, I believe. That is better for IBS, hydrogen SIBO or diarrhea-based SIBO. And then there's another antibiotic that's better for methane SIBO. But it just kind of depends on the type of SIBO you have. And it really is more about your overall metabolism. Where's your thyroid function at? If your thyroid is slow, your whole digestive system is going to be slow. No amount of antibacterials, antibiotics, herbs, anything is going to really fix the fact that things are moving slowly. She told me to drink detox yogi tea and thyroid cure plus iodine supplement, as well as a very strong probiotic. I do have regular movements. Yeah, it's hard to know. I would maybe look into a binder to see if that might be the problem. I really like Pectosol C for a binder when, you know, you're trying to maybe do a gentle detoxification. You want to bind to everything that's in the gut. Okay, guys, so Instagram's giving me 1 minute left. I'm going to do a last call for questions, and I'll answer questions for about 1 more minute, and then I'm going to end it so that I can hopefully save this live and put it on YouTube for you guys. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time to spend the morning with me. Would supplementing fat-soluble vitamins sublingually help absorption if having gut issues? How to figure out dosing with under-the-tongue progesterone oil? You got to just figure out the dosing. A lot of people ask me, like, what dose should I take? And I'm like, I can't tell you that. You have to really experiment with it and do your own research. Look at reviews. Look at how people are supplementing progesterone oil and try it for yourself. You're the only one that knows if it's working. And then fat-soluble vitamins should be supplemented sublingually. I think that personally, to bypass the gut. I'm not a huge fan of supplementing like vitamin A, but like vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin K can be taken underneath. Hey, bioidentical progesterone, not from wild yams, but a lab. I don't know. You're going to have to call them and ask them if it's bioidentical or if it's not. I'm not really sure. All right, you guys, I love you. Hope you have a good Friday, and I'll see you soon.